All right, thank you, Chad. Our next guest joins us from the local Geico office. After the massive flooding throughout the state, many are still dealing with the aftermath of damage to their homes. Tony Kolgakis is here with more on flood insurance and how to protect your home and family. Tony, such a pleasure to have you here.
Well, thank you for having me.
You've been with Geico a long time, and you are a family-owned business, right?
That is correct. I've been with Geico since 1987. Came out of college and began working for Geico, and I've been in Charleston since 1998. My wife, Carmen, and our sons, Anthony and Andrew, are also agents in our office.
That's great, and it's great because you guys need that experience to deal with what's going on right now, all the flooding. And we wanted to specifically talk about cars. A lot of people that mistakenly or unfortunately drove through these flooded roadways, now they're coming to you. How does it all work?
Yeah, it is an unfortunate time right now for a lot of people, and one of the things that comes out of a storm like this, particularly a flood, is the fact that there are going to be a lot of used cars for sale in the marketplace. And there is a problem with flood damage and not being reported correctly, and the consumers need to be aware that when a car has been partially or totally submerged to the point where the body, engine, transmission has been damaged, the insurance company is basically left to total it out, and when it's totaled, then it's sold to salvage to an auto auction. From the auto auction is where it makes its way back into the marketplace. And consumers may buy a flooded vehicle and it look perfectly fine. And if they don't take measures to protect themselves from that, they may get more than a limit. Some of the ways to do that is obviously deal with somebody who's reputable and buying used cars, or if you're going to buy the vehicle, have a mechanic inspect it.
I assume they can tell looking at it that...
Yeah, there are some telltale signs. One of the ways, or several ways actually, if you obviously look for any water stains, you can tell sometimes if a car's been freshly, if the carpet's been freshly shampooed or upholstery's been freshly taken care of. Door speakers, turn the radio on. Speakers that have been submerged won't work properly most of the time. A good tip is in the spare tire well. If you inspect that, a lot of times it's not clean during detailing, and if there's any grit, grime, or residue, could be.
You're smart, yeah, I wouldn't think of that. You know, it's unfortunate that something like this has to happen for people to kind of review their policies and to see, you know, for what they're covered, what they're not covered for. All the claims that you're seeing, are people covered for the most part when they're driving through flooded roadways?
That's a great question. There are two things here. When people are insured for their automobiles, flooding is covered if they have comprehensive coverage. On the homes, on the other hand, rising water is not covered by a typical home insurance policy. So unfortunately, a lot of people in our area right now are having to rely on FEMA because the flooding, rising water flooding is not covered. And they're sustaining losses that are not going to be insured.
How many, do you have an idea of the numbers? I can imagine how many you've seen after the flooding.
There have been a lot. We've been very fortunate that our exposure was not as extensive as some other companies, but there have been an awful lot.
So as we talk to you right now, it makes me want to go home and look at all my policies. You know, what are things that we should really look at and pay attention to in reviewing currently what we do have, and if we want to go with Geico and switch things up or, you know, look at our Geico policy again, what do we really need to pay attention to?
Well, an annual review of your insurance policy is prudent, at least once every couple of years. One of the things people don't realize in home insurance in particular, when you buy your home insurance policy, buy your home and you get your home insurance policy, you may have that policy for 10 years, and during those 10 years you add to your personal property, you may remodel your home, and if your policy is not amended to keep up with those changes and additions, you may not have the coverage that you expect should you have a loss. Now would be a good time for consumers to take the policy out, get with an insurance professional, and review it. And most importantly, identify with your insurance professional what you're concerned about. If a storm happens, if a flood happens, if a fire happens, what do you want to protect most?
Is that the biggest mistake you see people make, not reviewing them?
Absolutely. If you think about it, it's something you purchase and you hope you never have to use.
Just forget about it. But don't forget about it right now. Where can people find you?
Easy to find. We're located off I-26 at Rivers and Remount, and we're on the web at Geico Charleston at geico.com.
All right, and also 974-6044. Tony, such a pleasure to have you here.
Thank you so much.
Thanks for answering such great questions for us. And we've got more right after the break on Low Country Live, so stick with us.